Welcome to this licensing hearing. The first agenda item is to appoint a chair, and I understand members would like to appoint Councillor Norman to chair the meeting. Is that agreed, members? Thank you. I'll now hand over to Councillor Norman as chair.
Thank you. So welcome to members, officers and participants in this remote hearing and to those watching the webcast at home. A recording of this hearing will also be made available to view on the Council's website afterwards. So we go to agenda item 2. So this is introductions. So I am Councillor George Norman and I'm chairing today's hearing. And with me are Councillor Rachel Melly and Councillor John Galvin, who are also sitting on the subcommittee with me today. We also have a Democratic Services Officer, Fiona Young, and 2 legal officers, Sandra Brannigan and Victoria Wardby, in attendance during the meeting. I would just like to ask the following parties to introduce themselves and name any witnesses they have today in the following order. So could I have a licensing manager?
Okay, sorry.
Which is Leslie.
Also,
okay. My name is Wenlln Chen.
Can you hear clearly?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, sorry. You go first. Go on instead. So this is the applicant. Go on.
My name is Wenlln Chen. And
okay. Well, basically, he's the applicant. Wenlln Chen. He is the applicant for the Haizlonglao barbecue restaurant, Chinese restaurant. My name is Alan Mann. I'll be the interpreter for Mr. Wenlln Chen, basically. Okay.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, both of you. Could I have the licensing manager, Leslie, please?
Good morning, Chair. I'm Leslie Cook, the licensing manager, who will present the report.
Thank you. North Yorkshire Police.
Good morning, Chair. It's Sergeant Jackie Booth. I'm the Force Licensing Manager for North Yorkshire Police, and I will be calling 2 witnesses today, PC Kim Hollis, the Licensing Officer for York, and also Glyn Jones, Immigration Officer.
Thank you. And the Licensing Authority, Nigel.
Good morning, I'm Nigel Woodhead, the Licence Enforcement Officer, making a representation on behalf of the Licensing Authority.
Thank you. There is no representation from the public on this application. So each party may call witnesses to give evidence during the hearing, and during that, if representatives of that party could make sure that each witness is introduced at that point as well, again, just in case. So we'll move to agenda item 3, which is declaration of interests. Do members have any interest to declare? I don't. Neither do the others. Excellent, thank you. Agenda item 4 is exclusion of press and public. So our view has, in view of evidence that's been submitted by the police, that's been marked exempt in the agenda and the agenda supplement, and the subcommittee is asked to consider whether or not that information should be discussed in public or private. And also, in the usual way, it's proposed that the press and public be excluded from the meeting during the subcommittee's deliberations and decision making at the end of the hearings, for the reasons set up in 4B. Do members resolve that? Yeah.
Yep.
Brilliant. And just for clarity, we'll come back in a minute to sort of the procedure and running in a minute. So agenda item 5 is approving the minutes of the licensing hearings held on the 6th of August and the 17th of August. Yeah, I see thumbs up. Councillor Millie?
Sorry, can I hear it again?
Oh, sorry, so this is, we're just approving whether or not the minutes of the previous hearings are good. Councillor Millie?
Yeah, I wasn't present at the 6th of August, but I was present on the 17th of August, and I'm happy that that's an accurate record.
Well, okay. Yeah. Well, I'll consider those approved and resolve that. Agenda item 6 is the application and discussions through of this, going into the procedure. So the determination is for an application by Mr. Wenlln Chen for a premises license in respect of, and I do apologise, Mr. Chen, Haizlonglao, Hot Pot and Barbecue, 12 George Hudson Street, York, YO106LP. And the procedure, so we'll now talk through the procedure of the hearing. So the procedure to be followed at this remote hearing is detailed on pages 1 to 6 of the agenda pack, save that the subcommittee will not announce its decision in a public online meeting today. Instead, we will send round to all as quickly as we can the conclusions that the subcommittee has reached after the hearing. In summary, the order of the proceedings is that the licensing manager will first of all present the officer's report. I will then invite each party one by one to ask the licensing manager any questions. Next, the parties will in turn present their cases and call any witnesses, and each party will have the opportunity to ask questions after each presentation, as directed by myself, and so will the subcommittee be able to ask questions of the parties after that. Finally, the parties will each get the opportunity to summarise their submissions, and the subcommittee will have an opportunity to seek any final clarification before it moves into private session to make that decision. Do all of the parties understand the procedure of the hearing? Would you like me to go over anything else?
Yeah, that's good.
It's all good? Brill. So, yeah, and just before we move on to discussion of this bit, in addition, we're going to try and make sure there is a comfort break for ease of the meeting running as smoothly as possible. So we will break for 5 or 10 minutes, hopefully every hour, but we won't interrupt anyone's sections, if that makes sense. And in particular note for Mr. Chen and Mr. Mann, that if you are struggling to keep up with interpretation stuff and you'd like us to slow down or pause at any point, feel free to give me a wave, and I'm sure we can accommodate that if that's all good. So yeah, feel free to jump in with that at any point, really. So we're now going to just briefly talk about whether there is a need to go into private evidence for this session. So just to preface this with, it's not an issue either way, but for procedural matters, it will be very useful to know in advance. Before we start the submissions, just like to ask parties whether they intend to discuss the exempt information that's contained in the agenda packs, or whether you want to take that sort of as read and not refer to it. So Sergeant Booth, are you intending to discuss that?
Good morning, Chair. In relation to the restricted witness statements provided by myself and Glyn Jones from Immigration, and in respect of particularly those statements, if members wish to discuss or question, or any other party wishes to question the content, given that that information contained within those statements is not in the public domain, then I would respectfully request that we at that point move to a secure platform. However, I don't specifically intend myself to divulge the contents of those statements.
Okay, thank you. Nigel, do you intend to disclose or discuss?
No, nothing. I shall read my representation, and that will be it for me. Thank you.
No worries. Cheers. Mr. Chen and Mr. Mann, do you intend to talk about that stuff?
So if something linked to with the statement that privately, I intend to move talk privately, not to the public. Yeah. So anything linked with the police statement, I mean,
yeah,
with the on the page 83, that one page.
You want to talk over that bit? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if something linked with that bit, I mean, just we can talk about that bit in privately. I mean, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I think in that case we are going to have to go in at some point for that. I would imagine that you would maybe want to talk about that in your questions to the police section.
I mean, if something need to answer about that back there, yeah, I'm happy to answer privately on that that bit on the page 83. Is it? Yeah, that private link. If you want me to.
Okay, so there's a, yeah, that's fine. That's fine. That's cool.
Yeah.
And members, do you also want to dip into that stuff? I suppose we will be now anyway. So if you have questions, you'll be able to. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
at this point in time, I've no particular wish. Having said that, it may well, as we go through the meeting, I may wish to refer to it. So it's a sort of not quite sure at this stage.
Well, no worries. Okay. Well, we will set apart at the end for where we'll go into a private Skype session and then we can touch on that information. But until then, obviously, we won't. Okay. So I'd just like to ask the licensing manager, Leslie Cook, to please present the report at this point, please.
Thank you, Chair. This is the application for the grant of a premise licence for 12 George Hudson Street for a Chinese hot pot and barbecue restaurant. This premises, people know George Hudson Street, which I'm sure you all do. This premises is located directly next door to Akbar's Indian restaurant. It's on the same side of the road and next door to Akbar's. The licensable activities applied for are recorded music indoors, Monday to Sunday, 11 AM until midnight. The sale of alcohol on and off premises, Mondays to Sunday, 11 AM until midnight, and opening times, Monday to Sunday, 11 AM until midnight. A full copy of the application is attached at Annex 1 and the plan of the premises at Annex 2. As part of the application, the operating schedule submitted by the applicant showing how the licensing objectives will be met can be found at page 26 of the report. I can confirm that the premises is located within the cumulative impact assessment area. The assessment can be found at Annex 3 and Section 9 of the Statement of Licensing Policy, which deals with cumulative impact, can be found at Annex 4. I can confirm that the consultation process was carried out correctly. North Yorkshire Police have made representation on the grounds that the licensing objectives, prevention of crime and disorder, and prevention of public nuisance will be undermined by granting this application, and that the applicant failed to demonstrate how the application will not add to the cumulative impact of licensed premises already experienced within the CIA. Their representation can be found at Annex 4, A, B and C, and as you members know, Annex 5C is restricted. The City of York Council, as the licensing authority, has made representation on the grounds that the licensing objectives, prevention of crime and disorder, and the prevention of public nuisance will be undermined by granting of this application, and that the applicant fails to demonstrate how the application would not add to the cumulative impact of licensed premises already experienced in the CIA. Their representation can be found at Annex 6. A map showing the general area around the premises can be found at Annex 7. There are no planning matters with regards to this premise. The committee has the following options when making your decision. Option 1, grant the licence in the terms applied for. Option 2, grant the modified additional conditions imposed by the licence committee. Option 3, grant license to exclude any of the licensable activities to which the application relates and modify add conditions accordingly. Option 4, reject the application. Since the report was initially published, additional information has been submitted by North Yorkshire Police and has been circulated to parties prior to the hearing as an agenda supplement. That is the report, Chair.
Thank you very much, Leslie. So just to remind, we're now going to go through questions, and everyone who's a party in this will have the opportunity to ask questions. But just to remind that this is an opportunity to ask any questions of Leslie about the report at this stage, and all will have opportunities to speak in a bit about the stuff. So, Mr. Chen, do you have any questions to ask of Leslie at this point?
No question. Just firstly, just want to say that just want to use this opportunity to clarify anything that is misunderstand about this application. Because like due to this COVID-19 epidemic since last year, December 2019, the catering industry is declining and it's just been badly affected. Therefore, just Mr. Chen has come to across an idea just with the contactless restaurant, try to reduce the risk.
I think I get what you're saying,
contact.
but if we could leave that to the next bit, that would be excellent if possible.
Okay.
That we'll have an opportunity to
I'll leave that in.
But yeah, we'll just work through these questions. Sergeant Booth, do you have any questions to ask of Leslie?
No, Chair.
Nigel Woodhead?
No, Chair, no questions.
Members, Councillor Melly, Councillor Calvin? No, I don't either. Thank you. Cheers. Okay, so now, Mr. Chen, it's your opportunity to address the subcommittee in support of your application. You have a maximum of 15 minutes to present your case, and then everyone will have opportunity to ask you some questions. So please do feel free to get going whenever you feel ready.
Okay, so thank you again. Just thank you for giving us an opportunity to clarify anything that is misunderstanding of this application. As you all know, due to this pandemic, since last year, the catering industry has badly affected and declined. Therefore, Mr. Chen has come across with an idea of contactless restaurant to reduce the human-to-human contact due to the virus and transmission risk. Mr. Chen has taken it seriously, introduced a contactless system that changed the way it runs compared to the traditional Chinese restaurant. Therefore, as the virus pandemic continued to rage, he introduced a robot run restaurant that helps to business run smoother, better in operation. Mr. Chen want to start here in York, and he want to begin his success of catering industry in here. So therefore, he just asking City Council to idea that because he want York could be one of the county first automated restaurant that's used this new technology in the industry. So therefore, as a young entrepreneur like Mr. Chen, I wouldn't see any reason why the council won't take his idea and approve the application, as a lot of time and effort has been put in, and also a lot of investment has been injected for this idea. So basically, he already go through all the training course, whatever needed. So I don't see why he can't run this restaurant properly. So yeah, basically, yeah.
Okay, thank you. So we're just going to go through in order the responsible bodies here, and then the members of the committee asking you questions.
Yeah.
So everyone has 5 minutes to ask their questions, etc. So first we'll go to Sergeant Booth. Do you have any questions to ask the applicant?
Yes, Chair, thank you very much. If I could just ask Mr. Chen if he completed the application form himself.
是不是自己填那个 form？ 那个 form？
哦，是的。
Yeah, yes.
Okay, and I appreciate you are here today to obviously assist with the interpretation. Has anyone assisted him with the interpretation as part of the application process in completing that application?
Oh, 他说有没有帮你填那个表 ？Yes. Yes. 有没有人帮你个的？
就是有帮我一起完成这样子。
Oh, he said, yes, someone did help him to.
因为我毕竟就是英文不是很好嘛，所以需要一个人来辅助我这样子。但不过主要的还是 main 还是我的。
Oh, he said that because it's got English problem, so therefore someone has helped him to part of filling the application form.
Okay, so just clarifying that he has had assistance with completing the application form to put forward.
Yeah, that's right. Sorry.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
And just can I ask, does Mr. Chen have any experience in operating other food-led establishments?
So I can't hear you. What is it again?
Does Mr. Chen have any experience in operating any other food-led establishments, restaurants?
你有冇呢個餐飲嘅經驗？
餐饮的经验嘛，因为我之前就是在那个 Barbican 那边嘛，会有一些实习啊和那个工作的经验啊这些方面的。
Oh, yes, he got some experience working in. He's been getting some experience
就是在那边
in the Barbican restaurant, just
做 director 的
not
时候
far
会
away
有一些
across the road. So, in the
Just to
Barbican restaurant
clarify-
in York, I mean, sorry.
Sorry, did you say that it was the Barbican restaurant in
Yeah.
York?
Yeah.
就是当我那时候在那边做 director 的时候呢，就是有这样的一个实习的经验。对。
Oh, sorry. So basically, he tried to do some training and get some experience in a Chinese restaurant in a Barbican Road, just in York. I think it's in the Barbican Road in the Barbican area. I don't know.
Is that Barbican Road in York? Is that
Yeah.
the Regency?
Yeah, Regent. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. At this moment in time, Chair, I've got no further questions. Thank you.
Okay, cheers. Nigel Woodhead, do you have any questions?
No further questions, Chair. Thank you.
Brilliant. So we'll go through members. Councillor Galvin, do you have any questions at the moment? Nope. And Councillor Melly.
Yes, please, Chair. Mr. Chen, is the intention for alcohol to only be served with food, or for customers to have the option of ordering alcoholic drinks as the only item they order?
如果客人嚟買酒，你是跟食物一齊買啊，還是你淨係買酒？跟食物嘅？
当然不可以单独售卖酒的。
You say when the customer come in to order, he can't just buy alcohol on its own. You just have to consume some food along with the alcohol, with like beer or whatever. So he can't just come in to buy alcohol, basically.
Okay. So a follow-up question. Does that mean he'd be happy for the application to be amended to make that more enforceable?
So let me ask him. 就是你 OK 吗？如果他说进来不能淨係買酒，就是一定要跟吃一起。Yes, is it?
就是不能就是进来买。这是我的话，只是厂。
唔係，他改呢個條件啊。對。Hello? Oh. Hello? Hear me?
Yep.
Because the light's unstable, sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah.
So, for example, the application is to be able to serve alcohol until midnight, but it doesn't. But not an application for late night refreshment. So that would mean that you wouldn't be able to serve food after 11 p.m. But under the license, as written in the current application, you would be able to serve alcohol till midnight when you're not actually able to serve food.
Then if you can, you're happy to amend that, like move that forward to 11 then,
Okay.
if possible, is it?
Okay, thank you. I think that's my only questions for now, Chair.
Yeah.
Cheers. Thank you. You've just asked the questions I was going to ask, as always. So I don't have anything further to add at this point. The subcommittee's legal advisor have any questions or queries you'd like to clarify? No, thank you, Sandra. Okay, so now I will ask the representatives, so the people who who are objecting to the application to make their submissions and call any witnesses. Each representative will have a maximum of 15 minutes for this, as the applicant had. So I'll now call on the police to present this case. Sergeant Booth, you have 15 minutes to make that submission. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I trust members of the committee you have had sight and considered the representations made on behalf of North Yorkshire Police and the additional material, including the witness statements from Glyn Jones, Immigration Officer, David Parker, Licensing Officer from West Yorkshire Police, and myself. I wanted to clarify my opening submissions to members and all parties that if there is a query or a question in relation to those statements, I would respectfully request that we move to a secure platform to discuss, given the content of those statements contains information not presently in the public domain, and I think we did establish that at the start of the hearing proceedings. I will refer only to the statements by the officer's name in question. North Yorkshire Police have objected to this application for a premises licence on the grounds that the prevention of crime and disorder and the prevention of public nuisance would be undermined for the following reasons. First and foremost, this is an application for a new grant for a premises licence for premises located in the Cumulative Impact Assessment Area Red Zone. This is an area which the full council at City of York has identified as being under stress from crime and disorder and public nuisance. And in your own statement of licensing policy at para 9.14, it states, a red zone has been identified in this area due to the high concentration of licensed premises, the impact of which have led to a high level of occurrences in relation to crime and disorder related issues. Therefore, the council should refuse all applications within the red zone where relevant representations are received, unless the applicant can show how their application would not lead to an increase in the impact of licensed premises in this zone. Members of the committee, I put to you that the applicant has failed to specifically address why their application for a premises licence would not have an impact in the CIA area. They have made no attempt to liaise with responsible authorities or offer measures that would mitigate the impact of a further licensed premises within the red zone. The application itself makes no reference to the special policy, and the operating schedule is substandard, offering unambiguous conditions. For example, CCTV should be installed inside and outside the premises. The cameras should cover all internal and external areas as possible. Does this mean that cameras will be installed? If so, how many? What will be the image quality, the retention and storage capacity? And will cameras be compliant with data protection legislation, particularly for any external areas to which the general public who are not using the premises will have access? There is a lack of precise enforceable conditions tailored to meet the business model of a restaurant, such as the number of table covers, staff training, a refusals book, alcohol ancillary to food, or notices requesting patrons to leave the premises quietly. Given this is a food-led establishment which is applied for supply of alcohol from 11 o'clock to midnight, 7 days a week, late night refreshment has not been applied, meaning that for the last hour the premises is open for business, it will be operating namely as a bar with hot food and drinks being unavailable. The lack of detail in the operating schedule suggests that the applicant is either unfamiliar with conditions required to mitigate undermining any of the 4 licensing objectives, or is just not prepared to offer robust conditions for a premises which is located in an area already saturated and under stress due to the volume of licensed premises. Secondly, in respect of this application, the police do not support the applicant, Mr. Wenlln Chen, as the DPS. The Section 182 guidance, para 2.5 states, it will normally be the responsibility of the premise licence holder as an employer and not the licensing authority to ensure that the managers appointed at the premises are competent and appropriately trained. The designated premises supervisor is the key person who will usually be responsible for the day-to-day management of the premises by the premises licence holder, including the prevention of disorder. In respect of this application, Mr. Chen is both the proposed premises licence holder and DPS. I believe there are exceptional circumstances in this case as to why Mr. Chen is not suitable to hold a premises licence. It is both relevant and proportionate that as members of the committee, you have all available information to make a determination on an application. The police are the licensing authority's main source of advice on matters relating to the promotion of the crime and disorder licensing objective. As such, the information contained in both my witness statements and that of Glyn Jones from Immigration is relevant. However, it is for you to determine what weight you apply to that information. What I would like to highlight to members to consider: Mr. Wenlln Chen is currently the sole director on Companies House for another premises, which he has confirmed as part of this hearing today, where he has also been working the Regency, 16 Barbican Road, York. At a hearing on the 8th of June 2020, a licensing subcommittee revoked the premises licence for that premises. As part of my representations, you have a copy of that determination notice, and I would refer members to page 80, the last paragraph, which members noted that in light of the High Court decision in the case of East Lindley DC v Abu Hanif at Zara's Restaurant and Takeaway, the crime prevention objective did not require a crime to have been reported, prosecuted, or established in court. The crime prevention objective is not retrospective. It is concerned with the avoidance of harm in the future. The statement of Glyn Jones and Police Log Exhibit JB01 link the address that the applicant has provided on his application to activities that seriously undermine the prevention of crime and disorder licensing objective. The statement of West Yorkshire Police Licensing Officer David Parker links the applicant to a premises that is operating in Leeds without an authorisation for a premises licence and for which unauthorised licensable activities under Section 136 of the Licensing Act have been identified. I would also refer members to page 71 of the determination notice in respect of the female party named in Mr. Parker's statement, alongside Mr. Wenlln Chen, and para 3 on that page, which states, "It was a family-run business and all parties are interconnected." And also page 72, the second paragraph, she confirmed she understood that she was part of the family business. Furthermore, I would like to draw members' attention to both my witness statements. They outline that the applicant, Mr. Chen, is intrinsically linked to persons who have seriously and previously undermined the prevention of crime and disorder licensing objective, which resulted in the revocation of premises licence for the Regency Barbican Road, for which we know Mr. Chen has confirmed that he has worked at as part of this hearing today, and the Regency George Hudson Street, which is located in the immediate vicinity of the premises for which this licence is the subject. It is for this reason that North Yorkshire Police do not deem Mr. Chen an appropriate or responsible person to ensure the promotion of the licensing objectives, particularly the prevention of crime and disorder. Members of the committee, alongside the police concerns surrounding Mr. Chen, it is the position of North Yorkshire Police that the applicant has failed to explain why their application is such that you should depart from the Council's special policy, and would respectfully ask that you refuse this application in its entirety. Members, I have obviously Glyn Jones as Immigration Officer here, who has attended the hearing today, in order that obviously the applicant or any of yourselves as members may wish to pose questions. And I appreciate we've discussed moving to a secure platform to do that. So I don't intend to call him unless there are specific questions that the applicant or yourself wish to direct to Mr. Jones. However, I would like to call my colleague, PC Kim Hollis, just to ask her a few questions if I have enough time remaining, please, Chair. If I could just ask PC Hollis if she could confirm to me, as the licensing officer for York, that she has previously attended the Regency restaurant on Barbican Road in York, when the last time she attended that premises, and if she was able to ascertain who was in charge of that premises.
Thank you, Sergeant Booth. Good morning, everybody, Chair and members. Yeah, I can confirm that as per a previous statement that I submitted, that I have attended both of the Regency restaurants. The restaurant at Barbican Road, I believe, last attended on the 31st of October. Each time I have attended the restaurant, I have struggled to obtain details of the DPS or establish who, in fact, is in charge of the day-to-day running of the business.
Thank you, PC Hollis, in relation to that question. As Mr. Chen alluded to in his representation, there has been extreme difficulties, as I think we are all aware of, given the COVID pandemic that has taken place this year and the impact that has had on the hospitality sector. If I could just ask you, PC Hollis, to confirm in respect of crime and disorder and public nuisance regarding licensed premises, have you seen in the last 6 months any decrease, and how would you summarise the work in relation to the ongoing issues that are currently taking place, particularly in the red zone in the city?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we all understand that the pandemic has put us in unprecedented times with regards to closures of businesses, early closures of businesses, and a lot of restrictions that have been placed on licensed premises specifically within the city. However, it has not actually shown a decrease in my experience dealing within the city of York. In fact, it's presented us with some new challenges that we've had to deal with regards to antisocial behaviour, crime and disorder, relating not just to on sales but off sales as well. So I would say that there certainly hasn't been a reduction, and to some extent it has actually caused us further issues. Still to this point, we're facing new challenges with that.
Thank you, PC Hollis. Chair, just to summarise, obviously today Mr. Chen has stated that his application is for a contactless restaurant style. There is nothing contained within that application that refers to that. There has been no attempt to liaise with responsible authorities in respect of the application. There has been previous occasions where my colleague PC Hollis has attended a premises where Mr. Chen has stated he has been training and working, that he is confirmed on Companies House as the sole director from the 31st of October last year, which is the day that my colleague attended, that she's just confirmed that. And I would suggest that Mr. Chen does not have an understanding of the current problems that York experience within the CIA, and that there is nothing in the application to address those concerns, which we have heard are still continuing. The current policy is still valid and live, and I would ask you to take that into consideration when making your determination today. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, cheers. Thank you. We'll now go through questions for each party. As I say, you've got roughly 5 minutes to go. Yeah, just to sort of briefly check. Mr. Chen, Mr. Mann, you have 5 minutes to ask questions. If you need to discuss amongst yourselves before you ask them, feel free to say as well. I don't mind. But
Can I have a few minutes to talk to him to explain
what's been said?
Going on at the moment? Okay, I just
That's
mute
fine.
the
Yeah, feel free to mute yourself and have that.
Okay.
I think we should give you a bit of leeway.
Okay, just give me 5 minutes to try to explain to him. Yeah.
Cheers.
Hello?
Hello,
Hello.
you ready? Yep.
Yeah, I'm ready. I'll just kind of explain to Mr. Chen what's going on.
No worries,
So
we
basically,
can do that
Mr.
whenever
Chen
needed.
want to clarify. During the, I know. So during the time of the as a director on the 16 Barbican Road, the Regency restaurant, he worked as a, because he want to feel what is it like to be a director to start his own business. So he worked as a trainee to try to learn how to run a business. So from that experience, I know it's no good, but he just now everything kind of ready. He just want to start his own business in here to the Haizlonglao restaurant in the George Hudson Street. So it's independent to his family business. It just, this business is all, is him, is his. It's nothing to do with the family. Compared to the Barbican Road, it's all his. So Barbican Road is just a starting point. It's like training. You just want to train how to be a director, how to learn how to run a business. So after all the learning, after when he start his business in, I mean when he start his own business in the Haizlonglao restaurant in here, he will step down as a director from the other side, the Regency restaurant in Barbican Road. Basically, yeah.
Okay, cool. Do you have anything specifically that you want to ask of the police at this point?
有冇什么问题问这个蔡
问那个差佬。
啊？有什么问题问这个蔡老？
就我这个就是说我在之前还就是那边的那个 director 的身份，就是不是之前有过那个我爸的那个事嘛？但是我爸的事他并没有说有任何的问题在里面，所以你不能把这个混为一谈的。我这边的话，只不过现在是自己的一个，就是自己的一个公司，不管以前那些是怎么样的，他也没有任何罪，对不对？完了，所以就完全他没有任何理由的去拒绝的。对。
Mr. Chen say at that time in the Barbican Road York restaurant is at the moment is still under investigation, isn't it? Nothing has been finalized or clarified. So at this point, it just want to run his own business in here. He just want his own business in here. It's just at that point, just the Barbican restaurant. It just is. At that stage, it's still under investigation. Nothing has been finalized or
yeah. Okay. Do you want to take that as a question, Sergeant? No reply to that. Is that all right?
Pardon?
I'm just going to ask Sergeant. I'm going to ask Sergeant Beath to take that as a question and reply to it. If that's all right. Cool.
In relation to the Regency Barbican Road, the premises licence were revoked on the 8th of June at a licensing subcommittee hearing, and an appeal has been lodged, and yes, that is still pending the outcome of that appeal. In relation to Mr. Chen, he is still currently shown as a director on Companies House in relation to that premises. Does that answer your question, Mr. Chen?
Yeah.
Sorry.
我没有，他说你现在还是一个 director。
现在是这个 director， 但是我这边准备就是开门了之后，我肯定是不能管两边的，对吧？
哦 ，you just say yeah。
那边肯定是不关我的事了，我肯定是要就是我只是这边的。
Oh, Mr. Chen just say when I know at the moment is still a director for the Barbican Road. He just say when he steps, he go to step down when it's ready. When this restaurant ready for the Haizlonglao restaurant ready, he will step down on the other side because it's nothing to do with him now. He just want to concentrate on his own business on the Haizlonglao restaurant in George Hudson Street. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So is there anything else specifically you want to ask of the police at this point, or is that sufficient for asking them questions now?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. More or less. Yeah.
Yep. Brilliant. Thank you.
More further.
No worries. No worries. Thank you very much for that. Nigel Woodhead, do you have any questions at this point?
No further questions, Chairman.
And members of the subcommittee, Councillor Galvin, do you have any questions?
Chair, there was mention of an appeal. Is this, am I right in assuming this is an appeal to the Magistrates' Court?
Yes, Chair, and that is correct.
Thank you.
Okay. Nothing further. Okay, cool. Councillor Melly, go on.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yes, I just wanted to clarify, Sergeant Booth. Have the police tried to contact the applicant with proposed changes to the application or proposed changes to conditions that the applicant hasn't accepted or adopted?
In relation to the telephone number that was provided as part of the application, I did dial that telephone number to try and engage with the applicant. That number was not answered. My understanding as well is that my colleagues in the licensing authority had the same issues in getting a response to that mobile number. So we've been unable to engage with the applicant, and at no time has the applicant made an approach to us within the police to seek advice or to liaise in respect of the application.
And have the police tried to contact the applicant in any other way other than telephone?
In relation to the application, the contact number that's provided is the contact number that we would utilise. The onus is actually on the applicant to make contact and to set out obviously, if they wish to have that contact with any of the responsible authorities. We have made attempts to contact as per the telephone number that was provided, that was not answered when the number was dialed.
But not by the addresses provided or post or anything like that?
No, and we're not legally obliged to do that as part of the application process. The onus, as I say, is on the applicant.
I understand that. I just wanted to clarify based on what you said in your original statement about trying to engage with the applicant. I just wanted to be clear on what engagement has and hasn't happened. That's all. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Nothing further. I have a couple of questions, I'm afraid. Obviously, you've mentioned a few conditions there that would go somewhere. And I preface this question by obviously there are two. I acknowledge there are two sort of strands, I suppose, to your argument. What sort of conditions would you like to see on if you were to see this as being acceptable within the red zone sort of sphere of the argument, if that makes sense?
In relation to the application itself, it is substandard. It doesn't offer any specific conditions, such as the CCTV that I've mentioned, which is obviously, given it's in the red zone, a good deterrent in respect of prevention of crime and disorder. This is supposed to be a food-led establishment. There is no mention, and we've had a different change today in respect of what Mr. Chen has said, in that this is to be a contactless restaurant. I'm not quite sure whether there's been a change in the business model proposed, but certainly in respect of a restaurant, we would be seeking robust restaurant-style conditions, such as food, or alcohol would be ancillary to food. You would anticipate that a late night refreshment application would have been made. That has not been made on this application. There is no details of any staff training, which gives me great cause for concern. No details of a refusals log. There is no details of signage to advise patrons to obviously leave the premises quietly. So I think, given the application itself, I'm not quite sure whether, and Mr. Chen has confirmed today that he has had an interpreter help him to complete that application, but I do not feel that that application itself warrants any conditions that are robust, that are enforceable, and so from that side, I feel that it is substandard. They would certainly be the minimum conditions that we would be looking at in relation to any restaurant or food-led establishment that would be applied for within the red zone.
Okay, cool. Yeah, thank you. So I've noted down a few more of those, and hopefully, as we go through everybody, we can have a list at the end. Just one other question. I am assuming this is somewhere that would have a planning permission to be a restaurant, regardless of whether or not we grant it a license, do you have any particular grounds for feeling that? I understand worries about you have concerns about an individual running this establishment. Is it sort of not true that that individual could be running a restaurant without alcohol, regardless of whether we say yes or no today?
In relation to that question, yes, they could run a restaurant without a premises license. However, there is obviously greater risks in relation to a premises license and understanding what the licensing objectives are and ensuring that the opportunities which are potentially greater for a premises that does have a premises license are then not exploited. And we have to consider other businesses that have, put the correct measures in place when they've applied for a premises license, and those measures are adhered to. And in respect of that, I feel that this premises, again, given the concerns around the individual, I do not feel that they would run a premises license correctly. But in response to your question, they can operate without serving alcohol if they wish to solely operate as a restaurant.
So do you have any specific reason to believe that this individual would be, that them having a license would make there be more risk of crime and disorder?
I think given the points that I have highlighted in my witness statement, the premises that have alcohol licenses are potentially the option for financial gain is better for a premises that has a premises license, and therefore there is potentially a risk in relation to if there is more financial gain from that type of premises, then will they need more staff, and are there concerns in relation to how the staff in those premises would operate and promote the 4 licensing objectives. And I feel that is where we have to focus in respect of that aspect. So for someone that is operating without a premises license, if that is not a remit that I'm here to discuss. That would be, I would suggest, if there were concerns around that, it would be environmental health or other aspects within the council. But certainly from a premises license aspect, we're here to ensure and promote the prevention of crime and disorder and reduce any concerns in relation to harm around a business. And I just feel that given what I have outlined in both my witness statements and that of Glyn Jones, that there would be harm around this premises having an alcohol premises license.
Okay, thank you. I don't have anything further. So we are an hour in. I would be tempted to take Mr. Nigel Woodhead's bit now, or do you think we should take a break now? I look to my fellow members of subcommittee.
I've got something to say about the CCTV thing. A point to say, too late? Just want to clarify something.
I think we can do that later if that's all right.
Yeah, that's fine.
We'll
that's fine.
pause it for now, because to be honest,
Yep,
I think it probably will come up in the bit we're about to come to anyway. Should we take a 5-minute break?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, is everyone happy with that one? Excellent. I see smiling faces there. Okay,
Yeah.
We'll take a 5-minute break. We'll come back at 5 minutes past 11 and resume then. So we'll adjourn till then. Thank you. I think we're all back. And we've got that bit down now too. Excellent. Right. Okay, everyone. Thank you very much for your patience, and I hope you've managed to get a reasonable break in. So we're now
Hi, Chair.
going.
Sorry, it's Chris. We're actually still missing Glenn and Kim. We're all back.
Both in
Good to
here
go.
now.
Thanks.
Excellent. Thank you very much for spotting that. That's appreciated. So yeah, we now have opportunity for the licensing authority. So that's Nigel to present their case. You have 15 minutes to make that submission. Thank you.
Thanks, Chair. My name's Nigel Woodhead. I'm the Licence Enforcement Officer for the City of York Council, and I'm authorised to make representations on behalf of the Licensing Authority. This application relates to a new premise licence for a Chinese hot pot and barbecue at 12 George Hudson Street here in York. The restaurant is in York's cumulative impact area for licensable activities as follows, and they have applied for Monday to Sunday recorded music 1100 hours till midnight, Monday to Sunday the sale of alcohol for on and off sales 1100 hours to midnight. The premises sits within the York CIA, the Cumulative Impact Assessment Area, Red Zone, an area which the City of York Council has identified as being under the most stress from crime and disorder and public nuisance in their statement of licensing policy. The current policy came into effect on the 21st of March 2019 and runs until 2024, and states in paragraph 9.13 that the North Yorkshire Police and Public Protection have provided information that the nature of this area is such that the problems and cumulative impact directly relates to the style of businesses operating in the area and their clientele, due to the concentration of drink-led premises, which include pubs, bars, nightclubs and restaurant cafes, other entertainment premises, again, pubs, bars and nightclubs, especially late at night and into the early hours of the morning. It also includes late night refreshment premises, takeaways and off-licensed premises, supermarkets and convenience stores. Para 9.14 states a red zone has also been identified in this area due to the high concentration of licensed premises, the impact of which have led to the high level of occurrences in relation to crime and disorder related issues. Therefore, the council should refuse all applications within the red zone where relevant representations are received, unless, of course, the applicant can show how their application would not lead to an increase in the impact of licensed premises in the red zone. Furthermore, the policy states an applicant wishing to obtain a new license or vary a license for premises within the CIA must demonstrate through the operating schedule the steps they intend to take so that the council and responsible authorities can be satisfied that granting a new or varied license will not add to the cumulative impact already being experienced. This application fails to make a single reference within its application to the fact that the premises is located within the York's CIA red zone, an understanding of the problems that exist and the measures that they will take to mitigate the impact. They also fail to explain why their application is such that the licensing authority should depart from its special policy in light of the individual circumstances of this case. The applicant has stated that the premise is a restaurant and has applied for opening hours with the sale of alcohol from 1100 hours to midnight, 7 days a week. There is no mention in the operating schedule for consideration of a drinking up time in relation to on sales, which is referred to in the current statement of licensing policy as follows, and it comes under paragraph 8.13. Even though the traditional drinking up time was not carried over into the Act, the Council recommends that applicants of premises licensed for the on sale of alcohol should consider a drinking up cooling down period during which music volume may be reduced, customers may consume their drinks and make arrangements for transportation from the premises. The Council considers that a 30-minute drinking up time will assist in the gradual dispersal of customers and consequently reduce impact on the area. The applicant has failed to offer any substantial conditions which would seek to address concerns that they are promoting the licensing objectives of prevention of crime and disorder or prevention of public nuisance in an area that already experiences high levels of disorder. Within the operating schedule, as mentioned by the police, there is reference to CCTV, stating it should be installed inside and outside the premises, not that it will be installed, that staff will be trained to access the CCTV, how long the images are stored for, how long they'll be retained for, and copies provided to responsible authorities upon request. The operating schedule is substandard and fails to offer conditions tailored to that of a restaurant, including alcohol ancillary to food, the number of table covers, refusals but documented staff training, or notices requesting patrons to leave the premises quietly. The inadequate operating schedule demonstrates that the applicant has failed to take into account York's statement of licensing policy or the government guidance, and nothing that has been put forward by the applicant demonstrates why their application should be considered as an exception to the policy. The licensing authority cannot support this application in the cumulative impact area and respectfully ask members to refuse the application. Thank you.
Thank you. So we go to as I say, every party has 5 minutes to ask questions again. I am mindful that Mr. Chen and Mr. Mann needed some time to catch up on things for the last questions. Do you want to similarly just catch up yourselves now?
Yes.
Yeah, cool. Do you want to stick yourself on mute and have a brief chat, and then you come back with questions for Nigel specifically, if that's right?
Yeah.
Cool.
So start now.
Yeah, go and have a chat. It's fine.
Okay. Okay.
就差不多关于就是 CCTV 的那个就是。
Okay, I'm ready now.
Okay, brilliant. So as I say, you've got 5 minutes to ask questions of Mr. Woodhead, if that's right.
So Mr. Chen want to clarify that the digital color CCTV system has been installed in the pharmacies that cover indoor and outdoor. Will be working. It will be in working order and recording all the time when the pharmacies are open. Recording will be in a good quality. Will be in high definition quality. Will be produced if necessary to the a copy of the record will be kept available for any responsible authority for 28 days at least, and the record of the copy will be displayed in correct time and date. So this has been in place. The CCTV system. Because we have the experience back in around September 7 or 8, because there's a crime incident in the rear car park. Police has asked for CCTV footage. And then we have provided the record of the CCTV footage to the police for the investigation for the crime scene. But I'm not sure whether you can check it out or not. It's around 7 or 8 of September this year.
So I guess to sort of turn that to a question, Nigel, would that satisfy CCTV?
This has been done for the CCTV on the CCTV side. I mean,
right? How many?
This has been tested. I mean, so
the one thing that I would like answered is how many staff members would have access to download any CCTV footage on request.
So basically, at this moment, I think Mr. Chen has already employed another and a manager that has 10 years experience that will be working along with him. Also, maybe we'll be employed 2 more staff. So those 2 more staff will be well trained anyway that can have access for the CCTV. So along with the manager and Mr. Chen himself.
So are you saying therefore that Mr. Chen and his manager will be on site from 11 o'clock?
Yeah, we'll be on site
until midnight.
So even Mr. Chen is not on site, then the manager also will be on site. One of them will be on site anyway. So that's why he will be employed the manager, which has the experience running the same business. So it's about 10 years experience, basically. It's already in place. And in terms of the schedule, the operation schedule, although he didn't written it down, but this also has been set out because in order to, the staff training will be provided and preventing any disorder, and it will be given them knowledge or to deal with the situation, any difficult situation. Also, that's why the new manager will be working along with him, and will be training the new staff, coming staff, for this kind of situation. Also, in terms of drinking, for example, if like a customer coming in asks for a drink, then we'll, of course, from the experience from the manager, the manager that go to work with him, he will know that whether or not to sell alcohol to that customer, whether that customer is drunk or not. He will know. He will notify whether or not to sell the drinks to the customer, basically.
So can I just clarify, therefore, that any staff training records will be in writing and will be
staff training record. Everything will be record keep in the book, in the file. So when any authority come to check it, I'm sure Mr. Chen can show it to whoever wants to check it out. There will be record to show, to prove that, yep, here's the staff record, everything is in place, everything record, and you can check it out.
And does Mr. Chen know how many covers he will be having for food?
How many, sorry?
How many covers? How many seats?
How many seats? 大概可以坐差不多
80左右。
现在可能有100。You say Mr. Chen say normally is around 70 or 80, but because of the COVID, we're planning to cut it in half, maybe 40 now, 30 to 40. Yeah, 30 to 40 now at the moment, because of the social distancing.
可能就30左右，30。
Yeah, about 30 to 40.
And he will display notices asking his customers to leave the premises quietly?
Yes, he say he will, let's say, for example, if the restaurant, let's say close at 11, he will giving a cool off period. So let's say last order 10:30. So customer just a cool-off period before leaving the premise. Also, we provide a free testing phone number, so customer can safely leave the premises, or it's a sitting area at the reception, so customer can wait at the reception and waiting for taxi or any transportation to go home. So anything.
Thank you.
我觉得我们就是可以张贴一下那种
And also
明显很明显就是提示人家说我们什么时候已经不做这个了。
Oh, also he say he's going to put a sign. He will put a sign up.
对
A sign up to remind customer
对
the last drinking time. Or drinking time. Yeah. So just to remind them.
就是 notice。
Yeah. Like a notice sign.
Thank you.
Okay. In that case, I think we'll move on now to next set of questions. Sergeant Booth, do you have any questions to ask Nigel Woodhead at this point?
Yes, Chair, thank you. Mr. Woodhead, can you just confirm from the licensing authority perspective, have you been able to contact the applicant on the telephone number that was provided on the application?
I haven't personally tried, Sergeant. My colleague, the senior licensing officer, or one of her other colleagues would have tried, but I haven't. It would not be something that I would have done.
Thank you, Mr. Woodhead. Can you also just confirm that from the licensing authority perspective, that the DPS, who has been proposed in this application as Mr. Chen, should be the point of contact for all responsible authorities, including the licensing authority, and we would expect that a contact number be available at all times to make that contact?
That would be correct, yes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Woodhead.
Okay, thank you. So we go to questions from members of the subcommittee now. So Councillor Galvin, do you have any questions at this point? Nope. Councillor Melly, nothing particularly. I guess just to sort of follow through really from what's been mentioned here, I appreciate that perhaps this should not be being hashed out in the hearing, but from the sorts of conditions you're hearing now being proposed, would that move the licensing authority's view of the application?
In light of the police's application, I think we need a lot more stringent conditions and checks before any sort of license is issued.
Okay, yeah. Is there any sort of indication from you as to what sort of things we might be talking about?
Well, with regards to the CCTV, I am aware that when the police talk to premises, they have quite a number of CCTV conditions, which I'm not off the top of my head, I can't say what they are at this time, and also other stringent conditions that we do like these premises to have. It might be worthwhile finding out from the police or whomever what these conditions are. As I say, off the top of my head, I can't, without looking them up, I can't say what they are.
No worries, that's fine. Okay, cool. I don't really have anything else. So we would usually now go to summaries. I think we need to spend some time talking about the restricted documents. So I would suggest, if our technical team is feeling up for it, we could attempt to move the meeting to Skype. My understanding is this will only be parties that need to be there. So obviously our legal officers, our democracy officer, 3 members of the panel, Sergeant Booth and her witnesses, the applicant, obviously Mr. Chen and Mr. Mann. And I would imagine that would be it, unless Sandra has any other thoughts on that.
Thank you, Chair. Are you able to identify which particular aspects of the evidence at this stage need to be considered in private session, and then you can obviously then determine which members of this or which parties need to be at that meeting. For example, whether Mr. Woodhead needs to be there, or I don't know. For example, I think that's an issue.
Yeah, Mr. Chen and Mr. Mann is. Oh, sorry, Councillor Galvin, you got a hand up.
Chair, I'm sorry. Would it not have been better to have done this at the end of the summaries? I'm not quite sure, and I stand to be corrected, why we want to go and then come back again and then go again. What's behind it?
I would think that it would make sense for people to be able to summarise after questions. These questions have been asked and answered, in case the questions answers make the summaries different, if that makes any sense.
With respect, Chair, no, but that might be my brain that's operating in a slightly different way. I personally would think that we probably needn't go. I don't see why we need to go into private session now until certainly we might want to go in for the final points of the clarification. But anyway, you're the chairman. I'm just making my own opinion.
Oh, fair enough. It would certainly make it easier. Sandra, do you have any?
Well, Chair, you have resolved already to go into private session as and when necessary in order to discuss the exempt information. You should only be going into private session to discuss that exempt information, and the summaries should take place and final clarificatory points should take place back in public session, unless, of course, the summaries are going to refer to exempt information. But otherwise, you should come back into public session for summaries and for any final points of clarification.
Yeah, right. Okay, I see what you. Because it's final points of clarification as well as summaries. We would need to have heard everything before we got to that. Is that what you're?
Chair, you should only go into private session to discuss the exempt information. Everything else should be back in public session.
I think we know that what we're discussing is the order of it rather than what's in private session and what isn't.
Oh, I see. Sorry. Well, I think that the final parts of the meeting are the summaries and final points of clarification, and they should take place, say, after you've heard all of the evidence. So I know it's not convenient to break now and go into private session at this point, and it would be much more convenient to be able to do that after the close of the meeting, but unfortunately I don't think that would be appropriate.
Okay, I'll take your advice on that then. So sorry, just to get back to the point, Mr. Chen and Mr. Mann, do you have any particular part of the restricted information that you want to talk about? Are you wanting to talk about the witness statement on page 83 of the full agenda, or stuff in the agenda supplement?
No, unless everyone got any question you like us to clarify.
Ah, right. You're okay unless you want us to. Right. Okay. That's fine. So in that case, Councillor Melly, do you have any?
I just unless you need someone to answer some question or to clarify something, then I'm happy to do so. But if not, then that's fine.
If not, then not. That's fine. No, that's fine. Councillor Melly, did you have anything?
No, Chair, I don't have any questions to raise relating to any of the private papers.
Okay, yeah, I don't think I particularly have, actually, to be honest. I think, yeah. So unless, Councillor Galvin, you want to step in with any questions on this?
No, I've no questions on the restricted papers, Chair.
That's all right then. In that case, we will skip that bit and move through the summaries. So the way this works now, for everyone's benefit, is that you have 5 minutes to summarise your case, basically to just run over the key points, maybe pick up anything that's been discussed here. and we'll hear them in the reverse order that we heard them first. So the applicant will get the chance to speak last after the representatives have spoken. So in that case, we come to the police first to give your 5-minute summary, if that's all right.
Thank you, Chair. Members of the committee, the position of North Yorkshire Police is that this application should be refused, as there's been nothing that's been put forward by the applicant today to say that their application is an exception to your special policy. The Section 182 guidance, para 8.43, applicants are expected to include positive proposals in their application on how they will manage any potential risks. Where specifically policies apply in the area, for example, a cumulative impact policy, applicants are also expected to demonstrate an understanding of how the policy impacts on their application, any measures they will take to mitigate the impact, and why they consider the application should be an exception to the policy. There's been no weighted evidence provided either submitted as part of the application or today by the applicant that the granting of a premises licence for this business, that it would not add to the cumulative impact. Given the concerns highlighted by the police regarding Mr. Chen and his associations to other premises that are either operating without the correct authorisations in place or as a sole director for premises that it's had its premises licence revoked, the police could not support him as the DPS or premises licence holder. His failure to be contacted as part of the application process by both the police and the licensing authority also raises concerns. This application is purely about a premises license, not how the business is currently operating. The premises license adds an increased risk in relation to the operating of the premises. The prevention of crime and disorder objective is to ensure the avoidance of any future harm and protect the individuals and communities from being subject to criminal activities. And I would again ask members to consider the restricted documents I have provided as part of this police representation. Given all the above, the police respectfully request and ask that the application is refused. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Sergeant Booth. We'll now go to Nigel Woodhead from the Licensing Authority, please.
Hi, thanks, Chair. I'd just like to follow up and confirm that we are in total support of the police in this matter. The application sits within the red zone. The applicant should have known this and should have made application as to how he is going to run that premise with regard to where it sits. And I just ask that consideration is given by yourselves to refusing this application. Nothing has been said that sends me into with any confidence that the premises will be run correctly by the present applicant. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I would so now it's the opportunity for the applicant, Mr. Chen, and Mr. Mann to make their representative. Would you like 5 minutes just to talk over what's been just said now, so that you're both aware?
Okay.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Hello, okay?
Yeah, you ready to proceed?
Yeah, I'm ready now.
Got 5 minutes for your summary now, so if you want to get ahead with that, that'd be great.
So, okay, so Mr. Chen have finally come to the step that originally thought that it could open smoothly in November. But however, a lockdown of the city that make it more difficult. As an adult, a young businessman just start his own business. He has his own independent thinking and ideas. He believed that he has the ability to manage this restaurant by himself, along with other member of staff and a new manager that will be running this restaurant along with him. He has already go through all the required training and hope that the relevant department understand that should give Mr. Chen a chance to learn and gain more experience through his first starting of this business. I mean, if anything missing or documents or schedule, operation schedule, he can later on provide it in more detail, or you can input more condition in order to put the application forward. Just lastly, just want to say, as a foreigner, it's difficult for him to start business in here, to doing business in here. So he just like feel just more under pressure as a foreigner. So he just want to start his business here, and he already, as I say, he already go through all the training. He know what it is. It just maybe it's just difficult to express himself to show the public how he should run the business. But now he know, as he learn more and more, then he know what to do, and everything is record. So if any local authority checking, he can happily to show the authority, look, this is what we have done, and we have followed the procedure, and all the conditions have fulfilled. Just it's a chance. He just want to start his business independently, not so nothing to do with the other people. So basically that.
Okay. Thank you very much for that. So we now come to final points of clarification from the subcommittee members. So do members have any final queries or clarification they wish to now seek from any of the parties on any points raised, or wish to seek advice from the licensing officer on policy or from the legal advisor on law and jurisdiction? Councillor Galvin.
It's really a matter of interest. What use, and I can't just bring it to mind, what use is the applicant's property currently being used for? Can anybody tell me?
Is that a question for Leslie, I think, probably?
I think it's a general question to either Nigel or Leslie. It does, or even Sergeant Booth. It really doesn't matter who's got that information. Anybody that can answer the question, please answer.
At this moment in time, Councillor Galvin, the premises is vacant. If you walked past it, it's got all the screens up that the bid put on windows, but it's currently vacant.
Thank you very much. I think it was occupied at one stage by the council, but thank you.
Anything further? No? Councillor Melly, do you have any clarity points?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I just wanted to clarify with the applicant, because we're going to go away and discuss and deliberate and talk about the different options. With the options that we have in front of us aren't just approve or refuse. We can also discuss changes to conditions and changes to the application. I think Mr. Chen said in his statement that he is happy to accept changes to to conditions. I just wanted to ask now whether he could confirm that he is happy to accept any reasonable changes to conditions or new conditions or changes to the licensable activities or their hours.
OK，他说他可能就是有可能会改那个事情，然后就是问你 O 不 OK， 就是。
当然了，就是有 reasonable 的，当然是 OK。
Yes, he accepted. Yes.
网络很差。
Anything further, Councillor Money? No, nothing particularly. I don't think I really have anything to add at that stage. Yeah, we come towards the end of the public part of this meeting. Just to sort of briefly thank everyone who's taken part and borne with us on various bits and pieces, and to thank our legal and technical teams and our policy teams and MSERV for the work they put in today. And so the subcommittee will now withdraw to consider its decision in private session following a short break. I would suggest 12:30 for that, if that is acceptable with committee members. Yes? If you're trying to say something, Councillor Galvin, you're on mute.
Do you want 3/4 of an hour? Well, that's my... Did you say
could do less than that.
Did you say 12:30?
Yeah. 20 past?
Well, I would have thought 15 minutes. And then get into Skype. I'm quite happy to go with what Councillor Melly thinks as well, but I think less about 3/4 of an hour is a bit much.
I think that getting onto Skype is a bit of a technical ordeal, and that can take 10 minutes just on its own for some people, having to change devices and change logins and that sort of thing. So I think it'd be good to have time to have a break in addition to that.
I would have thought 15 minutes. I mean, yeah, whatever.
Let's say 1/4 as a compromise.
Nobody's less technically knowledgeable than me, but I can manage it, I think.
Okay, well, we'll say 1/4 for now, and try to finish this bit quickly. We'll not return to the public meeting following this, as I mentioned earlier. The parties are no longer required in the meeting. The decision will be communicated in writing to the applicant and to all the representatives and announced on the council website within 5 working days. I hope that's okay. And as I say, thank you very much to all of you who've taken part today. So I think we should be finishing the live stream, hopefully.
哦，太小声了，很小声，听不清。